Good evening and good morning, lovely people. This is Gaming Jason here with Gaming with the Guys. Bungles After Dark. Ooh la la.
Lovely people. Come
Yes,
on, we're gamers.
they're all lovely people to me.
They're shiny, happy people, maybe, but I don't know about lovely people.
Nah, to me, you're all lovely.
Deep down inside, everybody's lovely.
Yes, deep down, everybody inside is lovely, and just everybody's lovely, especially if you like that flaming hot Mountain Dew.
Ugh. Okay, we got to stop doing that. We're giving way too much free airtime on for Mountain Dew and flaming hot Mountain Dew and getting no return on it.
We gotta. Eventually, someone from PepsiCo is
No
gonna
one is
listen.
no
and we're
one
gonna
from
get those mini
PepsiCo
fridges.
is going to listen.
We'll get those mini fridges. I guarantee it.
Hello, everybody. It's good to be back. Tonight, it's just going to be Gaming Jason and myself, Gaming Greg. The rest of the crowd is
Off doing other
off
things.
doing other things, enjoying family time and loved ones and things along those lines. So we wish them all well in what they're doing. And soon enough, I'm sure we'll see Grandmaster Cody. Hopefully, the next couple weeks. Aside from the fact he's got family things, he's also having technical issues.
Yep.
Hooray! So hopefully he gets that all sorted out. In the meantime, we are gonna do a little bit tonight. We're doing a new thing. This is our game review episode, and it's a game that we've talked about. Actually, we've done 3-4 videos on battle report videos.
Yep.
But it's a game that's near and dear to myself and Gaming Jason is Arena Rex. So we're gonna do a little bit of that. But before we jump into what I will call what the hell is the gaming Rex? What the hell is the Arena Rex episode? I figured with it being just the Monday after the UK Games Expo and the Grand Masters tournament, we might talk about that just a smidge. We're not going to spend
just a
too much.
smidge from at least what I was able to kind of keep my eyes on, kind of looking throughout the day.
Well, first, I don't know. I did not jump on it. I don't think you jumped on it either. The pre-release for Dark Pilgrim and the new
Great Pilgrim. Yeah, those models look pretty slick. I was thinking about jumping in on it, but I also didn't think about what other stuff I wanted to get. Also, Mario Strikers Mario Strikers Battle League comes out at the end of the week for us in North America. So
saving money for it, I see.
Yeah, I'm gonna be probably picking that up on launch. And also I want to pick up that Master Grade Salzaby.
Yes, that's true.
The wife was not happy about that. She's like, "You want to spend how much?" I was like, "It's all good. I pay for it with credit card points. We could use that for other things. It's all good." So
got Father's Day coming. It's my present from my son. He wanted to get it for his papa,
along with Battle Strikers.
And I think that Master Grade that Zelsby, that Gundam is about the size of.
Oh yeah, it is. It's it is that
was Jason Jr.
that was the size. It's about the size, and that was trying to be one of my selling points. To then the conversation was like, really? I was like, it's all good. It'll be his best friend.
Yeah. Then you freak her out, and then when she goes away sometime, and you put
you
put Gaming Jason Jr. in your room, and then put the Zelsby in his crib.
No. What I actually do is I go buy the perfect grade, or I buy the perfect grade RX-78 Unleashed and build that and put that in the crib with the light up sword.
Yeah, well, then, and Gaming Jason may soon be on the single bands market if he does that stuff a little too much.
It's all good. It's all good.
It's all good. It's all good. All right.
It'll be his new nightlight.
So that'll be his new nightlight. I have no problem with this. I think that's a great thing for him to have. but back on track, so that way we don't go to our normal 2 hour, 2.5 hour, 3. I don't want to try to breach the 3 hour mark
If
tonight.
we breach 3 hours at that
We're
point, we
not going to
better we
breach
better get
3
invited to
hours.
we better get invited to, like, I don't know, Joe Rogan or something like that, be like
No, oh
competing for
God, no,
longest
no,
podcast ever.
no! Stop, stop. Um, no, but just to talk about the Grandmaster. So that was the big pre-release, and not that anybody hadn't been seeing it, but the Dark Pilgrim and the Gray Pilgrim, the new releases. They got some cool, flashy new cards, Spark of Life, and I can't remember what the other one was.
It's all good. Everybody's talking about Spark of Life.
Yeah, well, Spark of
That
Life was kind of filthy, to be perfectly
Spark of
honest.
Life
But
kind
all
of
right,
took the con by storm.
it's good, but I do like the new figures. Not that I was a big. I wasn't complaining too much about the old Gray Pilgrim sculpt. I think it was just plain. Is
Yeah.
really what it boiled down to. I didn't mind it too much. The new one is out there with lots of
It's an awesome dynamic
sparks and
pose.
dynamic posing and all the rest of that, which for those of you who are really good at painting, that's going to be spectacular. For those of you who are like me and get paralysis when a new model is out there and you're like, and you stare at it for 2 months trying to figure out how you paint it, and then you throw the first paint on and it's like, it's kind of crappy, but we're started, so we just roll with it, and then it turns out okay. That's what I'm going to be. I'll stare at it once. I didn't pre-order it, so I'm gonna have to wait for it on release. And if it's just it might just be a con special, so I might have to wait for like a Gen Con or maybe next Adepticon. I don't know.
Something like that. I mean, also it does help that neither of the Grey Pilgrims work for our main faction, so that's
Yeah, for
another
me,
point where it's like, well, okay, cool. So we don't have to worry about this for a while unless if we expand our armies.
right. I mean, I when I play the Shiho Tanakas, I could run at least Grey
Grey
Pilgrim with it.
Pilgrim,
But for my snakes, I can't do it. If it doesn't join Edo, what's the freaking problem? What's the freaking point?
and it doesn't
Uh,
join Silver Moon because
because Silver Moon,
obvious
yeah,
Silver Moon
just Silver Moon,
reasons.
just Silver Moon. You don't need shit. You don't need it. No. So that was a big thing at the GCT booth. They also had rumors that they were talking about. I don't know if they had any kind of preview copy or whatnot, or early copy of the campaign book that they were kind of showing around. I know they were showing some artwork of new figures that are coming up in the next wave or two.
Yep, and I'm looking
Um,
at those right now. Which one of them is like an homage? I feel like to Guild Ball at this point because it's a
Gilba,
she.
we'll share that screen. Show
She's
me what you're talking
it's
about.
a she oni with 2 giant metal balls, and then it
I
looks
think they're
like
grenades, Jace. They're
oh
grenades.
well, again, it's I mean they look like metal balls. They look like metal spike balls. Hang on one
Mm,
second here. Where's the button I'm looking for? Oh, there it is.
Get the button. You're almost
Yes.
there. So there was that one, and I think they showed one other one, and they were just showing the artwork for it today. Again, nothing Ito, nothing that I'm interested in. Whoa, there we go. Whoa, there's lots of screens.
Hang
It's
on,
like I'm looking to
let
an
me stop
infinity
Inception.
mirror.
Let me not Inception ourselves to Kingdom Come.
Yeah, right. Well, and they got some weird mermaid figure, or maybe that's like,
I was
oh,
leaning Ito that you guys got a
that
water
might be
snake or you
a
got an
water
eel or
snake.
something.
That would be kind of cool. She does look kind of Ito-y. She does kind of look like a bit jungy.
Maybe she's like
Um,
a Ronin.
I don't know, but we'll see what she ends up. So they had that going. So that was the stuff that was the stuff in the booths. Grenade throwing Oni, so that'll be loads of laughs, or an Oni shoe. I think that's probably going to be a full blown Oni though. Hard to tell. And snake mer person or just mer person. I can't see what the end of that tail looks like,
It
but I
looks
know
like
there's
some.
no
It
snakes that.
look. I mean, like there's looks like a fin, and then this just looks like a dead sea creature.
Oh, you know
So
what goes around?
it's
It's
like,
probably some kind
yeah,
of evil snaky mer person
yeah.
with
That's
some
what I'm
kind of
getting.
aura around her that lets you breathe water. But since
It's a
most of the
bubble.
game takes place on land, who cares? Uh,
She's
the
the magic
bubble.
carp. She'll be the magic carp of Bushido, and then
Magic
she'll evolve
carp.
into Gyarados.
I see. Whatever
Right.
Gyarados will be in this game.
Yep.
So that's the stuff that was happening in the booth. So probably a lot of excitement there going on. But the big excitement was the actual UK Grand Masters tournament. That's my wife smashing things in our kitchen right now. So that's kind of awesome. So the UK Grandmasters, we have a repeat Grandmaster.
I believe so.
Yes.
That was my
So
understanding from
Alistair
the
Johnstone, John Stone. is Grandmaster once again playing his Prefecture of Ryu list, which, according to the Discord boards, is either completely broken, like my wife is doing to all of our pots and pans right now, or is just something that everybody's going to have to cope with in the near future. Second place, and every animal in the house is going nuts now, is Craig Ivy from the Bushido cast, who ran his Shiho. And then last but not least is his Discord handle is Haskerman, and he is Ito. So I'm going to step out for just a moment. Jason, you're going to talk to everybody. That's pretty much the UK.
I'm
We
gonna
we
I'm
thank all the winners.
Yeah, pretty
We
much. And now we can't say Ito is like
No, I can't
a
say
horrible
Ito's
faction anymore
horrible
because
faction
they took
anymore.
third.
No, I can't do that.
They
Um,
reestablished their dominance.
exactly. So I'm going to step out and deal with Angry Cat here, and I will let Jason introduce everyone to what the hell is Arena Rex.
Awesome. All right. So, what the hell is Arena Rex? Is what everybody wants to know. So Arena Rex, I believe it's by Red Republic Games. Really great company. They've been coming to Adepticon for last, not including COVID time, but I think I remember seeing them first coming out on the scene 2017. It sounds about right. I believe they had a Kickstarter ahead of time. Um, and they're based out of Texas, Austin, I believe, and super, super chill guys. The game itself is a lot of fun. Uh, Let me pull up their website here real quick and just to kind of give them a quick shout out. Alrighty, here we got that pulled up. So for our audio only audience here, we do have the Arena Rex page up here, which is redrepublicgames.com. Or I'm sorry, it's arenarex.com. Otherwise, you look up Red Republic games, and this is their homepage. It is in a a fictional gladiator time. So if you've ever seen Spartacus, Gladiator, um, any of those types of films, this is definitely that type of game.
It's
Very low model count as well. I think most that we play is you can play up to 8 if you really wanted to, but otherwise most games are played with 6.
Yeah. So, what Jason was talking about, it's a fictional, or if you want to think weird history, going back to ancient Rome. The light gist of it is the Roman Empire um, splits essentially into two. So there's the Republic and the Empire. The Republic is basically your traditional Rome and Italy, with the Colosseum and everything, and then the Republic is based more in Britannia, and as a mix of kind of Gaelic and Roman. They call it the Legion. And then in Egypt, um,
Mark Anthony didn't
Cleopatra and Mark
die.
Antony don't die. They die, but don't die per se. They kind of personify a undead kind of faction. And then, of course, there's the Vikings in the Americas. So you have a combination of Vikings and Native American tribes, and then there's the Helniki, which are the Greeks. So, but we'll go quickly through those factions in a little bit. But yeah, so that's essentially the background, and so it's not just a straight gladiator fight. Where that you've seen in Gladiator, or you've seen in Spartacus, or any of those things. It's more than that. You have fantastical creatures. You could have, you know, regular lions, or you could have um, even the Gorgon sisters, which would
Hmm.
be like Medusa, Setho, and Uriel.
Hmm.
So fantastical creatures. The Wendigo is another creature that's in there.
You get a
Uh,
chimera called Proximo. He's pretty cool.
the Chimera Proximo. You have somebody rides a hippocampus kind of seahorse figure. Um, Telesto. There's a giant lizard. There's a giant scorpion that somebody rides. So there's lots of cool figures in there, and it makes it very exciting. Jason was right. Typically, your largest game that you see will have up to 6 figures on a side. So again, you're not talking too big of a model count. And then the lowest that I've seen is typically the Gorgon sisters, and they are a 3 model count. But those 3 models balance against the 6. That's one
Mhm.
of the gems of it. So the company that makes the game, makes Arena Rex, is Red
Red
Republic
Republic.
Games.
Yep.
Uh,
Went over that with them.
Great guys, based out of
Yeah.
Texas. Love them to death. And they've done a really good job putting a game together.
Yeah, for real.
Um, so the next question is to so that kind of fills in what is Arena Rex. Jason, I'm gonna kind of share my screen here really quick. So that kind of tells you what is Arena Rex. It's just going to be the main website again with the crawler.
Yeah.
Um, you know, it's a really fun game that plays well. We'll get into it more. So how does it play? I guess that's the biggest question. I'm dancing around it a bit. So how does the game play?
So
Um,
from my experience, because what I was trying to remember the time, but I from the first Adepticon, I remember these guys 2017, right?
they
It's
well they
2017,
kickstarted
2018.
this. They kickstarted this well before then.
Oh, well, the first
Um,
I saw them was 2017. That's when it
that's
was
when we
big.
noticed them for
That's
sure.
when we noticed them, and I mean, like, rules-wise, I mean, the guys are always at the booth, and years past, like, they sell out all the time. So, rule-wise, it's pretty easy to pick up and play. Like, you could play the game for what their demo is, and this cool, awesome things, and pick up and play. It's super, super approachable.
Hmm.
Um, Probably one of the more approachable games I've seen in my time playing games and whatever other games you've gotten me into.
Yep. So, how simple it is. How simple is it, rules wise, to pick up and play? It's very approachable. Even with picking up some of the specialty rules to it, of which basically the rules themselves are spelled out on the cards that you would have. It's relatively straightforward.
Not a lot of FAQs and a lot of things that have needed to be updated since it came out. Only one or two noticeable like clarifications had to be
Clarifications.
made
I
for
mean,
over
don't
some
get us wrong.
models.
There's still about a 6-page FAQ errata thing that they have
Yeah,
on it, but
but
again, it's
for how old the game
nothing
is.
nothing terribly earth shaking, devastating about it. It's pretty just straightforward, and a lot of it, I'll be honest, is a lot of clarification.
Yeah.
Um, and again, there's not a lot to it. It's um, just some of the more what's the word I'm trying to say? The finer points to how some of the figures play
Or interact
is
with one another.
right, right. So like there's a figure called oh my gosh, Hermes in Ludus Magnus, and he has a special ability that you have to pay favor in order to attack him, which we'll briefly talk about mechanics really really quick. If you want to get more on the mechanics, go to some of our early podcasts, not our super early podcast with Arena Rex, because that was horribly done.
Oh,
um,
you mean our early videos? We
the
don't have
very
any of
first video, I think our very first video that we did was Arena Rex,
it
where
was. It was a
we
live.
live streamed
We
it.
live streamed it.
We live streamed it to Facebook, and it was horrible. Uh,
Facebook, yeah, Facebook and YouTube. I
but
remember because we like were concerned that your phone was going to explode because of how hot it
oh, it
got.
was getting very hot. I was a little worried about that. And we were just using the phone speaker and everything else. It was kind of hilarious. Um,
And
but
you can still hear all of our original rambling. So this isn't something new. This is just us always how we've always been.
it's pretty much the norm. But so and I totally lost my train. Oh, so Ludus Magnus and what Hermes has. So I mean, that's just one of the weirder interactions that needed clarification because of how actions and reactions work. So there's just again, it's very quick. If you were to buy this at a con or pick it up and have it come to your house, and you're looking for something to pick up game night wise,
You can
if you
do
got
it.
two starter sets, you would be playing it probably within a half hour of opening it.
Yeah.
Not now That's not to say that there isn't some depth to this. The rules are fairly easy and accessible to learn and play, but there is depth to this game, a lot of depth, and that's what
Oh,
makes it really kind of fun. You get it, and it's a game about positioning, and it's a game about maximizing your resources and trying to cycle through your resources too.
mhm.
Which is not necessarily favor, but how do you manage your fatigue on your fighters? Which again, that's how it plays. So to the basics of the game. Jace, you want to pull up the? I think I have a graphic showing the card on there
Oh, yeah, here we go, 1
in the
second
stream.
here.
So the basics of the game is, and this is what's kind of unique about the game too. Um, you don't have a designated, okay, we're playing. There's no how many rounds is there to a game because really there is no round.
Yeah, rounds don't exist in this game. It's kind of one super long round that kind of bleeds into each other, and they're like minor interventions, and not
It,
even that.
No, yeah, no, you're not wrong. I think there if there's the closest thing to a round per
There's a
se
clear turn.
is a clear turn, which is where you would remove a fatigue off of a figure. So this is one of the Ludus Magnus. This is Septimus. I'm putting all Ludus Magnus on there because well, that's my faction or my Ludus. Um, so just to kind of briefly talk about it, he has movement. That's how many inches your figure can move. Attack. That's how many dice you're going to throw in an attack. Defense. That's how many dice you throw if you're defending. You're not the active player and you're defending. Arm is how much you're going to reduce incoming damage on you. Then you're going to see there's a series of boxes with lines going through that. That's your damage tree. So when I hit somebody, it's going to be the number of net successes that I have minus what net successes of the defender. So if Jason rolls 5 successes and I roll 3 in defense, Jason has a net success of 2. Then he would go down the chart, and depending on what he wants to do, depending on the battle situation, he may want to do a lot of damage, in which case he would do the top 2, and then he would go down the right side of the tree and take the other 2 and do 4 points of damage. And if my figure had 2 armor, I would reduce that 4 damage down to 2. Pretty simple. And then you'll see the very bottom, not the very bottom, I should say, bottom by his picture, there's a bunch of boxes with laurels in them. That's how much damage he could take. Then I would fill in 2 of those boxes, and that's how much damage I would take. When I fill in the last box, figure's dead and
Dead.
gone. Now, when they cross off one of those boxes with laurels, they get something called favor. Favor can be spent during the battle, sometimes to power certain abilities, but those are typically in clear turns. More often, they're used as extra dice that you could throw into attack or defense. And if they are successful, then you get 2 successes instead of 1. And a success in this game is really simple. There's not a whole lot of math. There's no bonuses and modifiers or anything. On a
There's not a
4 5,
table.
there's not a table. On a 4 5 or 6, you're successful. On a 1 2 3, you fail. Period. No crits, no fumbles,
No kata.
no kata, no nothing. Um, so again, very simple. Like I said, get your net successes and you tally that up. Now, when you do an action, you will get what's called fatigue. It's a very common thing. You might be familiar with it in the old version of Bushido, older versions of Bushido. If you would take an action, you get a fatigue. Do a second action, you get exhaustion. Hey, it's the same thing here in Bushido, in Arena Rex. So I could do a free movement to start my game, so I can move my 6 inches. Then I can do an action or another move, but that's going to cost me a fatigue. And then if I wish to, if I want to, I could take a further action, and then I become exhausted. Once I'm exhausted, I can't do anything else. That activation is closed for that figure, and play passes to my opponent. Now, when play comes back to me, I can remove 1 fatigue from one of my figures. I don't have to, but I can. And then, but if I'm exhausted, I can't remove anything on it. I'm stuck and exhausted until I get to a clear turn. And if I take the fatigue off that figure, that fatigue cannot act that turn. So, unless, of course, we get to something called last man standing, which again, I'm throwing things out there and I'm trying to do this in a quick, haphazard fashion. Um, so actions that I could take when I'm fighting, when I'm the active player, I can move, I could attack, and I could power attack. 3 actions. That's pretty much. I can't think of any other actions I take. Can you think, Chase?
I mean, there's a bunch of
There's
other,
more
like
reactions than
there's a
there.
bunch of reactions that you can
Yeah.
take, but not to overwhelm in this kind of format. Those are pretty much the main actions
Yeah,
that you
so those are
take
3
just to
action
do
yeah,
things.
reactions are separate, we'll get to that in a second. So those are the actions that the active player can take with a figure. Move, attack, power attack. Power attack allows you to reroll all dice that are not successful in your attack, you can reroll. Awesome. However, you become exhausted when you do it. Not so great. So there's that. So now if you are not the active player, so again, Septimus moves in and goes to attack somebody, um, that figure has the option. You have several as the non-active player or inactive player, you have options for things that you can do when it's not you and the other player goes. There are several reactions. You can counterattack. So if Septimus moves in with one of his actions and then the second action he attacks you, you could counterattack it, which means you're pitching your attack dice, and whoever has the most net success, whoever has more successes, they apply their net to doing damage to their opponent. There is opportunity attack. If I start a move within 1 inch, and 1 inch is typically you have to be within 1 inch to do any kind of attack, either base to base or within 1 inch. Um, if I begin a move within in the inactive figures enemy figures zone, then they could take an opportunity attack. An opportunity attack gives them one automatic success, and the active player can only defend against it. I can move. So if Septimus moves and I have a different figure that I want to have move, it doesn't have to be the figure that he's moving towards. It could be a totally random figure out there. I can move that. That's three. I think there's one more. Jace, do you remember what the last one is? Reactions?
Counter Strike, move, assist.
Opportunity attack, assist. That's it.
I was
Thank
like,
you.
that's the bigger one. Like, I don't
That's
know
the
how you
bigger
thought of
one.
opportunity
I
strike.
know, I
It
know, I
was how
know.
we played last time, and I think I got it. You don't usually get opportunity strikes. They're
Not too
very
often.
difficult to actually pull off in this game.
Well, what's
Usually
funny
assist
is I
one.
saw it happen a ton at Adepticon in one of
Oh,
the
really?
tournaments that I played. Yeah, yeah,
That was surprising because that's one of the more difficult ones to pull off because, again,
it's
just
a
the move.
high risk reward kind
Well,
of deal.
just also how the movement mechanic in Arena Rex works, where it's like you just don't see a lot of people getting that
The
opportunity strike.
the key with the opportunity attack, and the reason why you don't see it too often, is opportunity attack only happens if you start a move within someone's zone of control. If I'm outside of their zone of control and I pass through it, then again, zone
You,
of control is 1 inch around the figure. There's no facing. If I just pass through their zone of control, but I started my movement outside of it, they do not get an opportunity attack.
yeah,
So yeah, it doesn't happen too often. I think it was just a fluke that it happened I was able to pull off two or three of them at the tournament, just at Adepticon. But assist is the last reaction I could do, and basically what that is if a figure is within 1 inch of either the figure that is attacking or the figure that is defending, they can lend their defense dice to the figure being attacked. So, for example, Septimus is attacking Freya. I'm just giving names of figures out here. And um, Brevet is nearby, or Brevet's there, and Brevet's being attacked, and she's got a defensive 2. She's got Septimus coming in with a 6, but she can't do any kind of counterattack or anything like that. So Freya comes in. She's within 1 inch of Brevet and does an assist. She will lend her 3 defense dice to Brevet. So Brevet's throwing 5 defense dice against Septimus's 6. So her chances of fending off the attack, or at least lessening the effects, are much better. Uh, Now, when you do a reaction like that, one, you're going to get fatigued, and two, you are only allowed. So per activation, the opponent, the inactive player, is only allowed one reaction. So what that means is the active player could take, in theory, 3 actions: one free move, one action when they become fatigued, and then another action where they become exhausted. So you have to figure out when you want to use your reaction for that. So now I have all this fatigue. So basically, and again, we said there's no turn structure to this. So when you gain all this fatigue and you cannot activate a figure because they're either fatigued or exhausted, then you go into what's a clear turn. And in the clear turn, you remove one fatigue from every figure. So think of it as staging down. Exhausted figures become fatigued, fatigued figures become clear, and then you have what's called tactics, which are different abilities and things that you can do, which usually require you to spend some favor or other things. And there are some that are unique to certain factions, and there are some that are just general. I won't get into the details on those. But there's lots of things that you could do in your clear turn. And then you don't get to activate a model once you're in your clear turn. Play passes over to your opponent. And that's pretty much the gist of the game. Did I leave anything out really? Maybe hazards. Tell them about
Hazards, but
hazards,
those
James.
are
That's the big part of the game.
yeah, hazards are a big thing. They can do a number of different things from making your opponent's
No,
model more exhausted to straight up just killing a model.
yeah,
You can wound a model if you're pushed into a spike wall or if there's an open flame. You could get pushed into a lion's pit, and that just kills the model outright.
right,
The hazards definitely make up are a really big portion of how the game is played, and that's kind of where you start getting into the tactical mastery of the game a little bit, where instead of I mean, at the end of the day, you're just two group of guys beating on each other,
yeah,
but how you do it is really dependent on what's actually on the board and what hazards you are. Also, hazards could be a lion or some sort of animal or slave noxious type character
right.
that's there
Criminals,
that's just
yeah.
going to be there just to be like, oh well, you came close to me, well I'm going right after you and I'm going to mess you up.
Yeah. So, like Jason said, in the game there are essentially four hazards that you have. You have a hazard where you get the fatigue. You have the wounding hazard, which you take damage and it bypasses your armor. Then there's a lethal hazard, which doesn't matter how much health you have on you. If you contact a lethal hazard, the figure is dead. Also, I will say the Coliseum people love lethal hazards.
Yep.
So if you kill somebody by a hazard, you get extra favor. Hooray.
Yep,
And
that's
then there's
true.
living hazards. Think of Gladiator, where Russell Crowe's character,
Didn't they send a lion after him?
Septimus, yeah, they had the lions coming out of the pits. Well, the lion, if you get pushed within a certain distance of one of the living hazards, and it could be a lion, it could be a chimera, it could be a rhinoceros, it could be a bull. There's lots of different things that could be used as, or it could just be a criminal slave that's got a sword and he's crazy. Um,
I
you
haven't
get
seen that
pushed within a
movie
certain
yet.
distance of it. You didn't see Gladiator?
If I have, I've seen parts and pieces, so it's like I don't know. So I was just kind of guessing just from Arena Rex. Otherwise, I'm thinking like Attack of the Clones from Star Wars, from the second Star Wars movie, and that's how I
That
equate it. Is
that
they send the monsters after them.
no, that's different. The monsters there are more active.
Yeah, that's true.
The tigers that they used in Gladiator are probably more in line with the aesthetic or feel of Arena Rex,
Okay.
to a certain degree. They didn't move around as much because they were chained, but you do have the option to chain people, living hazards, whatever.
Or you
So
don't
they only
chain
have a
them
certain,
and
or they don't, and they can move around a bit. So those are the four types of hazards that you deal with. And again, if you get pushed within a certain distance of a living hazard, the living hazard essentially just pounces on you and attacks, which is cool. So yeah, lots of so, and then what you find is the game boils down to, I mean, you can work the percentages out on, am I going to be successful? Do I want to power attack or do I just want to take multiple attacks? Which one's going to be better? I gotta, it might be better for me to take multiple attacks because on the first one they're going to counterattack me, which generally means they're throwing the same number of dice or maybe more dice than me, depending on what my attack level is and their attack level is. Do I spend favor dice to boost my chances to hit? So that's all in the regular thing. Then I'm fatigued. Do I just want to be fatigued or do I really want to push it? Maybe I've really wounded him and I can finish him off by exhausting. But once I'm exhausted, I'm kind of strung out there because I can't do anything until I get to a clear turn. Plus, being exhausted puts me at a disadvantage in any fight I'm in with my opponent. So
yeah,
that's not a good thing.
puts a big old target on your back.
It does. It does. There's some ways to mitigate it, but that means you got to move your resources around. So again, it's very tactical. And then the third part is you're playing against the field. You know, I'm going to maneuver myself to here because I want to push them into a pit and kill that figure because I know I can't beat them. Or I want to push them into wounding hazards because I got that's going to do some additional damage on top of. And I'm a character that does a lot of pushing. or lots of different things. So it's a positional, it's a resource management, and then it's just your regular dice management on trying to get the best results out of your dice at all times. So while the rules to learn to just play the basics are very simple, once you get into it, there's a lot to say.
Um,
I
yeah.
would love, I would like to have Gaming Cody on, because Gaming Cody, me and Jason play this every once in a while off camera, and we're going to try to get some more on Battle Reports soon. Gaming Code, Grandmaster Cody, and another gentleman of our friend of ours, we'll call him Gaming Eric. Um, he Both of them hadn't played in a long time. And I had kind of gotten Gaming Eric back involved with it, and both of them are like very iffy about, ooh, we don't want to play in the arena, the Arena Rex Adepticon tournament. That's going to be really cutthroat, whatnot. One, the Arena Rex community is amazingly helpful and just a
Yeah.
bunch of cool dudes. And
They
I'm sure
definitely are.
yeah, I'm sure you've heard about that. You've heard every gaming group says that. This is a very chill group,
Yeah,
to be
definitely
honest.
more beer and pretzel gaming group, but I mean,
There's an edge to it.
there's an edge to it, but I mean, most of the people in the community, it's more like, this is like, again, this is my good secondary game, and I just have fun with this and just
Yeah,
enjoy myself. So if I'm having a couple, I'm gonna do that.
yeah.
I mean, you can still be competitive if you want to be that ultra competitive player, but
Mhm.
it's definitely, to me at least, this is much more of like it can be more of a beer and pretzel game, but a beer and pretzel game with some depth, and you got to think about what you're doing
You gotta
still.
think about what you're doing. And I've said this to you before, Jason, and I've said it, and this is how I always kind of tell people about Arena. Oh, but first, let me finish my story about Eric and Cody.
Cody.
Both of them were very iffy about it. Cody was going to be doing some more Bushido. He was going to play some more Bushido games that night, and then Eric was kind of like, "Oh, I haven't played. I'm not that very good." Blah 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 blah. Long and the short of it is, I got them in. They got into the tournament. Walker and Frank are absolutely fantastic. Those are the guys who work for Arena Rex. They let them in. The more players, the better. They had the room for it. And this Adepticon's been a little weirder compared to others, because the number of people there were down. So there was table space. There wasn't a crush for table space like there has been in years past. So they let them in. I'll tell you what, those fuckers. I've been playing pretty regularly prior to that. I'm 0-2 after 2 rounds. Those guys are 2-0 on the top table. Like, what the hell's going on here? I think I went 3-0 before I finally got. No, I think I went 2-0, and then I finally got on the upside and ended 3-2 for the day or the night. They're at the top tables. I'm like, what? They both finished higher than me. I'm like, you guys have Cody hadn't played in like 3 years.
Yep.
And just literally, just I had to coach him to remind him of certain things. I think other people remember. He just played with the extra figures I had in my bag.
Mhm.
There was no, I picked out my optimal force list building, um, and thought I was going to kick some ass. And then he just grabbed a bunch of figures, and next thing I know, he's Rick rolling over people. I'm like, what the hell's going on with this? And Eric was the same way. Eric actually had his own figures, but he was actually doing very well with his stuff, with just minimal amount of play to get him up to speed. So again, it's a really it's easy to grasp the basics, and then you can develop the basics. So if and build on the tactics. I will also say, the more creative you get with scenarios, the more fun it is too.
Mhm.
um
The game
but
itself leaves itself to be open where you can be really creative with it. I know, like, when we were
mhm.
into it big in the past before COVID, or, like, when we first got into it, we did a couple tournaments, and they've structured the game in a way where you can kinda create your own elements, and you can kinda throw them in there, and it doesn't break the game as much as you'd think it would. It'd be like, well, two people who don't know what the hell they're doing with any type of game creation stuff is just creating this minotaur model or the chariots, or that was a fun one I remember that we did, where
Yeah,
it's
that
like,
was.
oh, they're just creating these things, and it's going to totally throw the game out of whack. It really didn't, and most of the stuff was pretty reasonable. Minotaurs were pretty wicked,
Yeah.
but I mean, it's you
Yeah.
can kind of overdo it a little bit, but it's still relatively difficult. And again, under the grounds of a living hazard, I mean, it's just another element to the game.
Yeah, think of it as a solo play element that's in there, except for you're all there. If you're going to make a minotaur and it's a living hazard, or we had one where they have multiple pits that even if they don't have a living hazard, it was one there. They had 5 pits on the field. One was open
Oh,
to start, and then every clear turn you had to dice to see if another pit would open or if a pit would close. So
mhm,
you had the potential to have 5 pits open, which is a lot
mhm.
and very dangerous for whoever's living. Or what's worse, maybe you were transversing the area and hadn't totally cleared a pit, and then your opponent gets their clear turn really quick
Opens the pit
and
and your
opens the
dude
pit that
calls
that
it.
guy is standing in, and boom, he's gone.
Yep.
So there's so otherwise you're dancing around the pit, but your ultimate goal is just like in real gladiator fights, kill your opponent's figures to the man. You could put some objective play in there, and I've seen some of that done in some of the events that I've played in and some of the events that we've ran for Arena Rex. But long and the short of it is the primary goal is kill everybody. If there's a scenario objective to it, great. But then, as somebody pointed out to me that when we used to run events more often at our friendly local game store, um, those can get gamed.
Mhm.
And so if that's if you make that the primary win objective, then you gotta then that's not necessarily somebody will play for the objective, which again is not the worst thing, but I'll say the game isn't necessarily built for that.
Yeah,
Um, so
it's
that's
a it's a bit rough.
yeah. Um, so again, we kind of went through the basic gameplay. We've talked about some of our favorite things about it, or I shouldn't say some of our favorite things about it. We just talked about the general atmosphere and how easy it is to pick up. How quick is an average game? What would you say would be your average game?
3 models, I think you could probably crank it out in about 30 minutes. 6 models, if you're it could go to an hour and a half, depending on how much of back and forth it is, but realistically, you could probably finish a 6 gladiator, which is, again, the typical what you'll see
Six.
at a tournament or what is kind of most competitive, maybe taking a little bit over an hour.
Yeah, I'd say if you went an hour 20 for what we would call a 6 card uh, cohort, I could see that you should be completed within that time frame pretty easily.
Yeah,
Unless
pretty
unless somebody, I'm not saying slow play, unless somebody's playing very defensively and
yeah.
not engaging you, which
I think out of the whole time that I've played this, and that was like in the first tournament that we did, and it was how my opponent was playing with props to him, just sticking through it the whole way. That was about the only time where I think I went to time. Everybody else,
yeah,
I think we usually finish
finish with 10 to
either
20
just
minutes to 30 minutes to
yeah,
spare.
we finish either just a little bit before the hour mark or just a little bit over the hour mark. So there's usually plenty of time at that point then to go do whatever or go find
Mhm.
someone else. Be like, yo, I got 3 models. You want to play pickup game? Okay, and we go play pickup game of three models, and we're done
Yeah.
before the next round.
And even the Red Republic people, when they put it on their website, they say it plays it within 30 to 40 minutes. So if I'm
Yeah,
playing three figures aside, easily 30 to 40 minutes.
yeah.
Um, Now you'll notice I said 6 cards and not 6 figures. So I'm gonna skip something here real quick. How is the game balanced? So Jace, what would you say? What would you say is the balance on the game?
So for our mainly Bushido audience, there's not a point value associated to a card. You actually get a physical card, and that's how you build your list. Your cards are built, then that's how it kind of balances itself out. So some of the cooler, maybe what would be considered like higher point models in other games, in Arena Rex tend to be a 2 card model.
Hmm.
So out of your 6 cards that you have in total, you already have a third of that occupied by 1 model.
Yeah.
Um, and then you fill out the forest the rest of the way. So that's really how it balances itself out because each faction has their own mix of 1 card models, which is a majority of them. A couple of them will have a model that'll be on 2 cards, or if you're playing some of the bigger models in the game. For example, we talk about the Gorgon sisters.
Yep.
Those are all 2 cards for that 1 model. Or each of the factions usually have someone that can be riding some sort of animal. Um, some of those animals are tougher, so they warrant having a second card. So that's kind of how the game itself balances out. With that and with your Ludus bonuses too. That's definitely going to be a big part of how the game kind of balances out and then kind of goes into like how what would you consider buying, or how do you want to consider picking up whatever models you want?
Yeah.
Which I think
Yes,
maybe might be a good talking point after that.
for sure. It's so, like Jason was saying, the balance. So there's no points. You just pick your six figures that you want, or six cards worth of figures, which could be three figures because all of your figures have two cards, or they're all one card figures, or any combination thereof. But now picking your actual force, how is it balanced? Given that there's no points and you're just going by straight cards, the game is remarkably well balanced. Um, I can't. There may be some bitching on my part against certain particular figures that frustrate me in general. Gaius Paulus probably being number one.
Yeah, but
Um, he
he
has his
is
flaws.
he
He has
has
his
his
flaws.
flaws. But I
They're
mean,
not much, but they do
but
have
honestly,
flaws.
also your bitching is totally warranted. I'm not gonna lie. When I see him going up, whenever I go up against him, and he's not in my faction, which is Legio 13, I'm like, oh, this is not gonna be a good day for me.
So, so
So
the reason,
your bitching is very well warranted.
and we'll get into more of the actual. We're going to be doing some more in this series of talking about Arena Rex. We're probably going to go more in depth with the different figures in a faction, so everybody kind of has a feel for what they are. But Gaius Paulus, you'll soon learn in Legio 13 is a beast of a figure, because just to put it mildly, on every clear turn he has the ability to heal a figure, including himself. Which, when he gets to last man standing, if he is the last figure on your side, something called last man standing kicks in when you have only one figure. What basically happens is you get to do your clear turn and then get to do an activation. So that means he essentially could heal himself
Every turn.
every turn when he's last man standing. Plus, if you do kill him without pushing him into a lethal hazard or something like that,
Into a pit or something.
yeah, if you kill him, he comes back.
His
He
story
gets
is like he's a great general or something like that that
he
got like cursed or something, and then
I wouldn't say cursed. He went over to. He's kind of like a combination Roman general that was curse blessed with druidic powers. When you look at his figure, he's kind of got all this
earthy growth on him.
growth on it, tree growth and whatnot on him. I mean, he's a beast. He's a beastly guy. He moves slow as sin.
But he hits like a freight
Hits
truck.
like a freight truck and can heal things that are within a certain distance of him, including himself. So if he becomes that last man standing,
It's
it's an
very
uphill
difficult.
climb, even if you have multiple figures trying to take him out. Anyway, back on subject. So from a balance standpoint, though, it sounds like it's ghastly, but it's not. It really is balanced to a certain, to what you're dealing with, and you know what's going to happen. So you just got to figure a way to deal with it.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have much armor, so you just pound him. He's just going to take a beating, and he's going to take the damage. Um, and again, if you could kill him before he becomes last man and kill him again, he's manageable. Or drop him in a pit. Problem solved. He's off the
That's
board.
usually how most people take care of them.
That's why he usually hovers in the background a little bit, and then you got to try to get around everybody. Um, but getting back to the balance thing, um, they've done a really good job of not making anything that's thoroughly over the top.
Yeah,
I
you
mean,
gotta really try to get that combo, and I think
even
there's only one person that I've seen that took the time to go in and do the list building and make a really nasty list, and even then, it's like the list itself was nasty, but you could still try to
you could still beat
go
it.
to toe to toe with it, and you
Mhm.
might do okay with it. It's just you're struggling a little bit.
You'd struggle a little bit. And again, it also is just scenario dependent. If he's going straight for the kill, but there's something that's in the scenario that opens up other opportunities to do damage or to remove some of his models, you could easily even the playing field. But in general, if I pick any six cards and Jason picks any six cards, it's going to be a fair fight. And I will say the last man standing mechanic, you can be outnumbered 3-1 when you
And you
go
can
into
make a
last man
comeback.
standing. You have a really good chance. 10-1 says that match ends with 1v1.
Yep. I love that mechanic, to be quite honest. Just in general, so that way it's not like, "Oh, well, the game's over. I'm just gonna concede at this point," especially since we've been playing a lot of Bushido lately, so that's where it's more in my mindset where it's like,
Mhm.
I have 1 model left. I'm gonna get bullied around the rest of the match, and this is how it's gonna be. Arena Rex is really nice with with the last man standing mechanic where it's like, yeah, you're down model number wise, but here's a slight helping advantage. And it's a major advantage, but it's
It's a
not
major
depending on
advantage.
who your person is. But here's a little bit of a push to like try to get you over the line to see if maybe you can give yourself a to see if you can get yourself back in the game.
It's that last adrenaline rush that the gladiator has trying to fight for their life. The odds are stacked against them, but they're going to make that heroic last stand, and it's very possible the gods are looking favorably upon them, or the arena crowd, and helps them push them through to victory,
It kind of
or
gives me a bad
certain
news
death.
bear bad news
Bad nude
bears
bears? What the
bad
hell are
news
you
bear
watching there?
bad news bear vibe where you can have the comeback. You can be the underdog and
You
win
can be
it.
the underdog, yes. You get your ass handed to you, and you've done some damage to their models, and then you've got your model left, and he's last man standing, and then you all of a sudden go on this tear. It really works, but that also means from a figure balance standpoint, very balanced game. There are some figures that you may feel are better than others. We could debate that all night long on certain things. Um, but in general, if I take one figure versus somebody else's figure, or card worth of point, card versus card, they're generally of equal things. Now there are certain ones that do certain things better than others. So you always got to be aware of that too. But when you're looking to build a force, the rule of cool really kind of applies.
Yeah.
You can, and that's the other beauty of it. You can buy what they call ludices. Jason, why don't you throw the
Yeah.
graphic up there with all the
Let me
different factions?
give me
Uh,
just a second.
you could buy
There.
everything for one faction, and you could get what's a ludus bonus. If 70% of your force consists of gladiators, that's also very important. Gladiators of the same ludus, that's what they call factions. So, for example, if they're Helniki, if 70% of your gladiator figures are Helniki figures, you will get the Helniki bonus. And there's
With
several different things that they get. Usually, a lot of them are for clear turns. A lot of them are a passive ability that they get, and then there's a kind of a wild card ability.
Yeah, and that's kind
Um,
of each faction
each faction has
each
their own.
faction has some sort of a build like that. Some of them do prefer certain things over others. Zephyri and Moritiri, which I'll get to here in a second, they
Mhm.
prefer to be more on the clear turn. But then you have Ludus Magnus and like Legio 13, where
Legio
they
13 is all movement
yeah, they're
shenanigans.
all movement shenanigans, but a clear turn isn't as vital to them as you would think, but it just kind of depends on the faction.
Mhm.
But definitely you can play Rule of Cool, and even if you get, we were talking about Ludices, even if you don't want to, even if you for whatever reason you're like, I think that this dude right here is cool because he's a cool Viking, and then you want to just mix and match, and they're not even in the same faction. You only need to really pick up one additional character, and then you can get a misfit, basically a misfits, the
The
misfits of
They call them the Exili.
yeah, the Exili, and then
And
at least you have somewhat of a bonus. So that way, because a lot of
well,
people
I'll
will
tell
play
you,
in
the
eight.
Exili bonus is huge.
Oh yeah,
But if you want, or again, if you want and you don't want to play, you got to have one specific figure in order to unlock the Exili bonus. But if you want, you can just throw in whatever figures you want. Hell, there's even a figure that if you just want to run all beasts, so if you want to run the rhino, the scorpion, the bear, the lion, the
tiger.
chimera, the wendigo, if you want to throw all the beasts into one cohort, you could. There is actually rules for that.
If you need the
There's a
model,
beast.
he's a
There's essentially a
Mortieri
beast
model.
handler. Yeah, it's a beast handler, and then that guy does. He controls an all beast cohort, which has its own ups and downs. Um, but again, the beauty of it is if I want to play with Septimus from Ludus Magnus, I want to play with Archimedes from Helniki, and I want to play with Gaius Paulus from Legio 13. Basically, I want to play with one figure from every ludus or faction. I can do that.
Mhm.
There's nothing that says that stops me. Again, there's nothing that says you can't have X and Y. Um, so you could build it that way. So again, if you think a model looks cool, get it because
Oh,
you're going to
yeah.
find a way to use it.
And you can
Um,
blend factions together.
and you
That's
can
what I
blend them.
know that's what I did because traditionally I only get one faction. So I started with Legio, but then I started noticing a lot of Zephyri models actually complement some of my Legio models really
Mhm.
well. So I've been blending like those two, but just maybe enough uh to give me my Legio bonus or something like that. If I just want to kind of mix two factions together slightly and kind of come up with a different blend or see what the result is.
Yeah,
I know
there. Go ahead.
the other fun thing everybody likes to do is try to get the more cheery bonus because they are the most universal bonus.
Well,
That's for
yeah.
sure.
So, and we'll talk about that more when we do the faction breakdowns. But it's again, there's lots of choice. If you're playing what we'll call pure faction, you'll get some bonuses for it. But you can easily play well outside a faction, or there is a faction that specifically says mix and match the
Mhm.
Exili. And Kato, who is the figure that you have to have for it, he's a badass all by himself.
He
So
is.
it's not a bad choice to take him. Or even if you want to put him into your regular Legio. So let's say you take a Legio 13, again, 6 models, 70%. That's 4 models have to be Legio gladiators. Beasts do not count as gladiators and do not count against you.
Mhm.
So you could have a beast in there, and it's not going to go against your 70%. And you could still throw in other faction, other Ludus figures in there. So you could have Kato in
The
a
other
Legio 13.
just to plug Kato because he's a cool model. He also rides the giant lizard,
He
so
does ride a lizard. So
that's
they
I still haven't gotten that model, but that's a giant selling point for me when I saw it. I just haven't picked it up yet because just haven't.
Mhm, and then you'll see as you're looking at some of these pictures that they have here, I've included in each of the faction ones their mounted figures. So they do have rules for riding mounts too. So for the Helniki, there's Telesto. He's the hippocampus seahorse kind of guy, and the Telesto's the name of the mount, not actually the guy who's riding it.
Yeah, this
There's
fish
Septimus.
looking thing.
Yeah, that's I got the guy right here. Demetrios is the guy
Okay.
riding the fish-looking thing. There's Septimus riding the bull.
Yep.
There's
Dexterius and Wayne.
Dexterius is the horse, Wayne is the guy riding it. That's a great pairing there. There's what's her name
Is the
riding the scorpion?
uh I
Zahara.
Zahara. No, is it
Yeah,
Zahara?
it's
Oh,
Zahara.
okay.
Zahara riding the scorpion. Zahara comes in the starter set, so you see that over there, and then she can ride a scorpion. I didn't put the Zafiri one there because, well, to be quite frank, I don't like Hokra, and Hokra's a cool model, but the mount looks kind of silly, so I
Yeah,
didn't put it
Chota.
up there. Chota doesn't.
Yeah,
Chota looks
Chota.
really weird. Chota looks like a horse. He's supposed to be this wild, crazy horse, but it looks like it should be breaking its back uh,
Yes.
as it's taking a corner. So I didn't put that in there. But again, lots of cool things in there, and
Mhm.
just cool mounts and all sorts of fun things that you could do with it. Um, so yeah, so when it comes to balance and it comes to what should I buy, Greg, what should we not buy, Jason, go,
Whatever looks cool to you.
whatever looks cool.
If you think this model's like you or you dig Mikon and his 10 pack right there. Hang on, wait, let me count 2, 4, 6. He's 7. He doesn't beat Cristiano. He
Yeah, he
doesn't have
doesn't
the
beat
8 pack.
Cristiano Ronaldo. No, no,
Nope,
no.
he doesn't beat Ronaldo in the 8 pack.
But if you want to learn more in depth about these, then we'll be doing the faction ones, so that way you could get more information on what each faction does and does it fit your play style, or ludus. I keep forgetting we call them luduses, not factions here. Do they fit your play style, and what figures are there and what can they do? We'll be doing that over the next few weeks.
The other
uh
nice thing too about picking a Ludus, just kind of if for purchasing stuff besides the just to kind of summarize the overall what might fit your best pick. Each you're not necessarily dedicated. They're not cheap, but they're not necessarily as expensive as you think some of these models are. This is one of the more affordable games, and each of the factions aren't a whole lot. You're not like looking at like 20 models to pick up everything. I think each
no,
one has about 10 at most.
I think when we get down to to some of the other when we're starting to wrap things up, we'll probably discuss that.
Yeah.
Again, yeah, there's not a whole lot to each faction, to be honest. I think there's probably about 10 to 12 figures at most in any particular faction.
Mhm.
Um, which is good and bad, but I don't find it as a bad really. But that does bleed us into what are the figures actually like? Is there opportunity for modeling? Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
So the figures
We'll
themselves,
Let me
they're
sneak
resin.
over to these guys. So,
Yeah,
just for
we'll go
modeling
into some of these.
opportunities. So, for our listening audience here, we just have some of the cool living hazard items, or we can get really good. We also
These are
are
the Gorgons.
flowing through
Yeah,
the Gorgon sister. So, if you are an able painter to do things like these, you can make some of these models look really, really cool for modeling from
yes,
a modeling aspect.
from a modeling aspect, I will say yeah, from a modeling aspect, they are resin. They require a little bit. They do require some cleaning. By and large,
Yeah.
the molds are pretty clean. Um, but I will
I
say there are some very thin bits, so you have to be very careful with them.
I
And I
have I have the pile of shame of broken ankles. That is my one thing where I'm like that is slightly negative on there. The resin, it's better than some of the older resin stuff.
Mhm.
I notice that compared to some of the new stuff that I've seen, at least from GCT, and again that they just got a good manufacturer, I think at that point.
Yeah,
Um,
I would
the
love
the
if they were able
the
to switch
the
over to
Arena
GCT
Rex,
stuff. Yeah,
the Arena Rex models, they require a bit more cleanup than what it's maybe a little bit more than some of the GW stuff from what I remember back in the day. So clean. So there's nothing major wrong with it, but it does require, at least in my experience, I've had to do a bit more cleanup than I like to do.
yeah.
But there's that, and then there are a lot of models where they tend to be on one foot, and there's not a slot
On the
base
tippy
there
toe. Yeah.
on the tippy toe. A lot of models, or not a lot, but there's a healthy number of models that are like that. And so you will either figure out a way to get both
There's
feet on ground, or you're gonna have a lot of broken
Yeah,
ankles.
hold right here. Jason, if you could hover your cursor over
Yeah,
yeah, that
Frig
one.
right here.
So you look at
I've
Frigg, see her foot right there?
That's
That's
all
your
she's got.
contact point. That's it.
I was smart and I figured out how to angle Frig so that way her back foot is on the ground, so it still works out.
you
It
know,
managed to work out pretty well, but
I
yeah,
yeah, I
they
will
they're
say go
that
ahead.
is one of the downside with the models.
It takes a so for those who there's going to be some modeling skill. You're going to be you need to do a little bit of mold cleanup, not too much. You're gonna have to be very careful about mounting them. That's probably gonna be the biggest challenge is how you're gonna put them on the stand and have them stand.
Mhm.
For certain figures, some figures are dream. Some figures like Frigg, or others where they're on the
Oh, hang
tippy
on,
toe
wait,
running.
or Zara. Yep, Zara. Zara's another one of those right there, and
Oh,
she's got
yeah,
all the open parts. I actually
and
think
she's
Zara is
spread
a
all
little
over the place.
that's what I was gonna say. I think Zara's a little bit more of a challenge even than Frigg because it's you can't even really pin her because of how
Yeah,
the stand is, and if you try to go through that leg,
and it's not a
it's
tactical rock
not
she's
gonna go there.
standing on. That's just her
That's her
foot.
foot.
But then you look at the two or Keck and Kepros there, or not Kepros. Well, Kepros is the side picture
Yeah,
there.
this guy. Dude with the trident.
I can't remember. I have him because he's part
Mago?
of my Mago. He's part of my net list. Uh, those guys are real easy. They put 2 feet squarely on the ground. Then you get her, her light footed and jumping around.
Very
Um,
dynamic, super
Very
cool. So
dynamic, really
if we
cool.
had more modeling abilities, we could put her, like, on a rock jumping off of it, and then that would probably fix "Oh, there's not a lot of contact points to it," but we everybody knows they don't come to this channel to come see our hobbying skills.
No, no, no. That's the truth. Um, I will say for these models, and again, I don't know if the regular old super glue usually works really well. I use Gorilla Glue gel. I've never had a real problem with it. What I do though do because just I'm paranoid and because the resin in general is just super light. Um, I pin a lot of stuff in Arena Rex. I do a
I
lot of pinning with it.
I go to
Pin
him
it
for
to the
my pinning,
base. I pin certain limbs together and whatnot. When I get lazy, I don't. But that's
hobbies,
again, I'm just paranoid.
and for right reasons, because I know I've had it before where it's like, "Ah, crap, my dude just came off the base."
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Look at that. It's Aquila
Yeah, Aquila,
on one
he's
foot
he
there.
yep, and that one that's I think one I think I snapped his ankle and I had to fix him.
So again, there's lots of opportunity to model there, and the models themselves are great. Um, As for customizing modifications, generally, as long as it looks like it's supposed to. So I know I brass rotted Septimus's spear because
Yeah,
trying to
but
do
that
that with a
was
resin spear or metal spear was,
not good.
whatever it was not going to last
It
very long.
bends.
Um,
Some models have multiple heads. I know,
some have multiple heads. A lot of the Helniki have two heads because they were the
yeah,
newer models. Um, but you could do lots of things with them, lots of creative things with the bases. I think most everybody kind of goes with the sand look to them, but you could do more if you want. Again, you're fighting in the gladiator pits. You can go as wild and crazy as you want, or just go very basic, and it still looks very good.
mhm,
And they paint up very well. Um,
yes.
I, Before contrast paints came out, I did these regular, and yeah, they took a bit more time, but that's again, I'm a slow painter. Um, but I'm very happy with a lot of the models that I put out for these, and I think they paint up very well. So if you're a very good painter,
Even
I
better.
think you're going to enjoy these a lot. So yeah,
Then and they
that's
came out with the 75 millimeter bust statue of Lupa.
no, that's I thought it was a full size model of Lupa, not
Or
just the
that sev
bust. But it's
oh, yeah, I
75
mean,
millimeters. She's
yeah,
totally
sorry.
unplayable. She's not playable, but it's just if you're looking for something to, if you're looking for a challenge to paint, that's what you do.
Yep.
Um, So that's the models themselves. What other opportunities are there for modeling? Well, there's terrain.
Yes, that's the
Uh,
big one.
that's the big one. That's where you
That's
could
where
go
your
crazy.
imagination can really break free, or
Mhm.
if you manage to save your Playmobil arena from when you were a little one, or your children's or nephews or whoever that you bought that Playmobil for, yeah, you're gonna probably be knocking on that door and be like, "Hey, so do you still have that? I know you're older now, so I kind of would like to have that back."
Yeah. So if you've ever been to a con like Gen Con, Adepticon, and I don't know if they get to any other cons down in Texas. I think it's ReaperCon that might be down in
Yeah, I think
Texas.
that's ReaperCon down there.
Anyway, if you've ever gone to a con that Red Republic actually has a booth at, they will have they've taken and they've really made it super pretty. Painted up the old Playmobil plastic Coliseum. It's
Oh, okay.
fantastic, and I
That's the
think everybody's
Playmobil
kind of
one?
yeah,
I
that's a
didn't think that that was a
Playmobil one.
Playmobil. I thought that they
No,
actually,
no,
like,
it's a
had
Playmobil.
someone go and, like, cut the foam for him and make that. I didn't realize that was
No,
a
no, no, no.
Playmobil.
No, if you look at the walls, it's really smooth plastic
Oh,
and there's
okay.
no cuts on it. No, that's Playmobil. And I've seen some other people come out and do MDF ones. I think Ironheart Studios. I think I'm getting it right. They had one. Sarissa has something, but it's not the right scale. It's more for their Gangs of Rome game or
Mhm.
whoever makes Gangs of Rome game. So it's a little smaller because Arena Rex is really probably 32 millimeter, and it's kind of bit on the bigger side of 32, whereas the Sarissa Precision uh, Arena is probably more on the scale of a true 28 or 25. So it's not quite to scale, but they got a really good setup for it. So I was tempted by it. But if you could find an old on eBay or whatnot, because Playmobil did a last push, and I knew tons of people gobbled them up just before
COVID.
Playmobil totally discontinued the Coliseum set. They were selling them for $50, which, to be perfectly honest, is a steal
Yeah, I mean,
uh,
most of us are spending $50 on sometimes for some one
for
GW
MDF.
figure or
Yeah,
MDF.
I mean, it was insane. So people gobbled those up. So we're lucky in our gaming group, and hopefully, once we get the videos going, you'll be able to see it. We have two people that have the Playmobil Coliseum. Now they haven't necessarily painted them up, but it's a
They have
work in
them.
progress. They have them, and I tell you, it looks really cool when you do it. And there's other people who've done just their own scratch builds.
Mhm.
So really, when it comes, and then there's others that just forego the actual traditional Roman Colosseum. I've seen people where they've kind of built a forested one where they kind of have some wooden walls, like a wooden palisade, as if it was like a Gaelic fortress, or what would be a Gaelic kind of arena, or maybe it's a Native American one because that's the Fury Stadium, so or Coliseum. So you can kind of that's where you let your imagination go wild and you can make your backstory up for that particular arena. And then there's the hazards themselves.
Yep.
Aside from the living hazards, which are typically represented by the models in the game or other models from other games that you create the stats and the damage trees for. What's a good wounding hazard? Well, it could be a column with spikes on it. It could be a big fire pit. It could be any one of a number of things.
barbed
what could be
wire.
your well, they didn't have barbed wire back then. But they, it could be a pit of acid. Who knows? That could be a lethal hazard. It could be a giant pit of fire that you push someone in. It could be just an empty pit. It could be a regular hazard we have, just the regular trees, or you just want something to block the movement. So it could be a knocked over column. It could be an actual tree, which could double as a regular hazard. Somebody gets pushed their back up against a tree, it's solid, knocks the wind out of them, they become fatigued. Yay, or
Mhm.
gain another fatigue. So that makes it very creative. So if you're tired of just seeing the plain old arenas, make something else. And does it
Yep.
have to be in a round ring shape? No.
Nope.
Make it an octagon. So now you start your MMA gladiator fights. You could do it just in an oval, an octagon, a square. I know at our store they one did somebody was kind of starting to build a pyramid, and but they didn't do the walls completely. They kind of had the corners going and a few walls, and the interior was the
Arena.
arena. That's cool. So yeah, when it comes to modeling this, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of opportunities because you're really just playing with the models, and it could play on a you're playing on the mat, which I think is about a 1.5 diameter.
Yeah, I
Not quite.
think,
It's
yeah,
a one and a
it's
half diameter, ring, round circle. And I think it might be more than 18 inches. I think it's 24 diameter. Anyway, you could if you want them to have more movement before everybody engages, you make it bigger than that. If you want to have them beating on each other real fast, you make it smaller than that. Go crazy. There's just a lot of things that you can do with when it comes from modeling. Um, Last thing that you could ask about the game, again, we've kind of said it's basically your Jason's side versus Greg's side, and whoever's last man standing is it. That's the winner. Is there more to the game?
oh, yeah.
The answer is yes. The game has scenarios. And the actual free book that you get has a number of scenarios. And again, most of them are, kill your opponent, but they put different ways in which to do that and to get different benefits for it or different hazards in the field and how to, you know, arrange things and whatnot. They'll have dual circles and stuff, dual rings and things like that, where essentially if any figures that are fighting in the ring that earn a favor will earn an extra favor if they would. Um, is there opportunities for multiplay?
Yes, that is
Yeah,
some of our fun things that we like to do at the game store, especially when we're an odd person out. Okay, so we're odd. So what are we gonna do? You guys bring your Arena Rex? Oh yeah, okay, cool. We're just doing a 3-man fight.
yeah. It's the only thing that you change on the multiplayer, it still plays the same way. The only thing that changes is the players doing reactions. You will get one reaction until you're the active player again. So if it's me, Jason, and Cody's in it, and it's in that order going me, then Jason, then Cody, and it's Jason's turn, and I do a reaction, I have to wait till Cody completes all of his activations before I'll be able to do another reaction. And again, if you want to change it up, that's fine. But that's generally how they've played when they've done 3-person or 4-person on a mat or in a coliseum. 3v3 or three 1-on-1, 1v1v1 or 1v1. If it's a 3 or 4 player match, that's how they've been doing it. You could change it up a bit if you like, but that seems to make it. Otherwise, if you had a reaction every time somebody activates, it can bog the action down.
Hmm.
This way, you have to really gauge: do I want to use that reaction or not? So yeah, that's so definitely multiplayer. It definitely works very well in multiplayer. I will say you probably want to have more than 3 figures if you're doing multiplayer. You're looking at maybe a 4 or greater.
Yeah.
3, just you end up dying really quick, and especially if as there's more opponents because you get double teamed pretty quick. Um, Solo play. That's what I would say, Jason. I don't think there's really much opportunity for
That one
solo
is
play.
difficult to do. They haven't really created a lot of it, and the rules themselves
Mhm.
don't really make it to a
No.
sense where you can play like Super Dungeon Explorer, Zombicide, where you can do it solo play if you want. Um,
Yeah.
Unfortunately, with this one, you do need a player two. But the nice thing is that if you have player two, three, and four, and up to player five, that would be a little bit ridiculous. But you could do a multiplayer game with that.
Yeah,
with solo play. I can't think of a foreseeable way to do it, and honestly, I don't think it would really be that fun.
no, no. I will say if you have a hard time finding someone in your area to play against, there is on the Arena Rex Discord. I know that there is a virtual tabletop version
Okay.
of Arena Rex, so you can do it that way. Check out the Discord for more details on that. In fact, I think they're doing a league right now.
Oh, are they? I'm not
Yeah,
part of the Discord, so I would have you tell me.
yeah, yeah. So that is an option. Last thing, campaign play. There's no official rules for campaign play.
But it could so be
It
done,
could so be done.
and not too unreasonable. I know we've talked about it for, like, years where it's like, "Oh, how would we do it? We just haven't put the pen to paper to, like, actually get it running."
Yeah, there's a couple ways. There's a couple ways to do it, and I think hopefully come fall, maybe earlier if we're really lucky. I know Gaming Eric wants to do a campaign, and we're going to try to make it simple. But I know it's going to start with a very vicious draft of gladiators.
Oh, great.
um,
We're doing it NFL style where
we're
we're
going to do
gonna
a draft of gladiators, and then we'll see how that goes, and then we'll have like weekly things. And the beauty of it is everybody could kind of be involved even if they're not in the match, because just like true Roman times, you could bet on other people's matches. So Jason's fighting against Cody. Well, I'm wanting Jason to beat Cody, so I'm gonna pay for. And I know Jason's dice are gonna be stellar, and Cody, whenever he plays against Jason, his dice suck. So I'm gonna bet on Jason, but I am gonna bet that Cody's going to kill this one figure. So you could have side betting going on now. What you could spend it on, how do you handle wound? If a character goes down, are they dead? No, but how do you affect wounds as you go forward, and so on and so forth. That's where you have to kind of build your own rules. So Red Republic at this point in time doesn't have a campaign rule for kind of doing extended battles over time. Again, this is where you let your imagination go. It would be, it's kind of fun to kind of build stuff, and I think, like I said, keep an eye on the channel if you're interested in that, because I think that's something we're going to be exploring in the next, probably in a few months, probably getting towards September. We'll probably be getting a rudimentary campaign going. Now, for leagues, if you're trying to get it started at a store, slow
slow
grow.
grows. Definitely.
Definitely could do a slow grow. Start with 3, and then you build more figures as you go. You could even do a draft league. To be perfectly honest, everybody pool their figures together and on a night, and just everybody kind of drafts out. You get to you Jason gets to pick one, you get to pick one. I will say at Adepticon they had a really cool way of doing it if you're going to do a tournament. Is so again, we said normally you have 6 cards is a normal tournament match. And the reason why they do 6 is if you want to play the Gorgon sisters, the minimum number of if you want to play all 3 sisters, you have to have 6, because each of the Gorgon sisters is 2 cards. So I think that's why the number 6 kind of kicks out the most. But what they did at Adepticon this year is you brought 8 figures. So you built your cohort of 8 figures, and then you roll to see who's going to draft first. And let's say I won. That means I get to pick one of my 8 figures and I put him in my 6. Then Jason gets to pick one of his and exclude one of mine. And then you go down until and then it goes back and forth where Jason gets to pick 2 and I get to exclude 1, and so on and so forth until you have your 6 people. But that way it gives your opponent a chance. So I will say I'm a filthy Ludus Magnus player, and I rely on Otho Mentalis. Again, you'll learn more about who sexy Otho is later. um I make sure he's in all my lists. So if I'm winning the initiative, you could pretty much guarantee that I'm grabbing that figure first, and then I don't care what you exclude after that. If I'm playing against Jason, he's doing his Legio, and I get to exclude a figure. Goodbye,
Gaius
Gaius
Paulus.
Baldus.
That's
he,
everybody.
he
Everybody's like,
is.
"Did you bring Gaius Paulus?" Yes, yeah. Just don't even bother
Just
taking him
don't
out
even
of the
bother
bag.
taking him out of the bag. So you could set up something like that where if you're doing a local tournament at the store or whatnot, do it as an 8-figure thing, and then you do a back and forth on selecting the figures. So that way it forces you to learn to play with or without that one crutch figure, that you're always dependent on. So again, lots of variation on how you can do things, and it does make it exciting. Got anything else on that, on ways to play or whatnot,
I
Jace?
mean, not really. I mean, I almost want to say that they built the game, and I don't know if this was by design or not. I mean, they built the game almost like in a way where I don't want to say it's not miniature agnostic, even though you could use whatever figures you wanted to and play the rules with it. But you definitely can build on it and you can be super creative with it, which again, I don't know if they did it by design or if it's just kind of, or if that's what they, or if it was just a happy accident that it's just like, oh, well, you can build onto this as much as you want because again the
Mhm.
rules themselves are very very easy and understandable to get into, and then just building it up from there and doing whatever other cool stuff you want to do. It's totally it's much easier to do than some other systems that we've played in other games that we've done where it's
Yeah,
like, yeah, you can't really do this and that because that's just gonna totally not work at all.
yeah. It's a very approachable rule system.
Much more approachable for homebrewing.
And approachable for home brewing, especially if you're doing living hazards. Now, making up your own figures, that could go really sideways really quick. Oh, I got 666 all across the board, yay! And then I got these 3 powers, which make them, these 3 abilities or traits on them that make them even better. And I'll give them 20 wound boxes.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, no,
There's some
that
control that you have
there's
to do.
some control that you
I
have to
know
do.
when we did our Arena Rex tournament where we had the wolves, the amount of play testing we did to get those wolves to be in a nice balance, that was one of the trickier ones. But I know we've also had successes like when I know you made your version of the Minotaur, and it was like
Right.
it was maybe a little bit on the powerful side, but as a living hazard, I mean, like it was worth it.
That was the key. Is I did them as living hazards, and it was not something that was meant to be playable
A real
to
player.
include into your cohort. No, it was to make things more interesting for what you were bringing on the board, and then giving different kinds of play style. Different play challenges. That's probably the better word for it. So yeah,
Hmm.
again, there's a lot that you could do with it, and again, just being an approachable rule set makes it very very easy to get stuff. Once you become comfortable with the rules and the interactions and the different traits and things like that, you're going to find that it's like, oh, I really want to do this or I really want to do that, and then you could add them easily. Well, that brings us to kind of wrapping things up a bit, which is great.
I know it's like a reasonable
It's a
podcast length.
reasonable I'm sure there's other people who think it's really long for talking about Arena Rex, but this
I
again,
mean,
this is a game I really do love.
oh yeah.
Um, so I'll start with you, Jason. What do you like? What do you like, or what do you like most about Arena Rex?
I like Arena Rex because I know that or what is it? I like Arena Rex for the fact that I don't think I've touched it in at least a year and a half or so. But I know if I wanted to, I could pick it up if we wanted to play it at the store this week. I would be perfectly fine in picking it up. It is the bicycle of games.
Yeah,
Once you know how to play it, you never forget. Or there might be like a rusty period where it's like, oh yeah, that's right, I can do that. But after that, I mean, like it's like, oh yeah, no, I totally know what the hell I'm doing. So
yeah.
Arena Rex, the bicycle of gaming.
The bicycle of games. Um, yeah, I mean, for me, I like the aesthetic. I mean, that's a number one, and I like the gameplay a lot. It's very approachable, but yet it still has a lot of depth. Now, what that tends to mean is I suck at it, uh, but
Actually,
I,
yeah,
I'm all I'm all right. I'm
you're fine. It's
average.
your dice that screw you over most of the time.
That could be said for every game.
Yeah. The
Um,
other actually nice thing that I do like about this, and this is more for this is more for maybe finding a friend and or if you have a significant other that's maybe like, why is he always playing that? This game is definitely one of those games that you can actually bring in that significant other or whoever your friend or whatever that's not into gaming or
or miniatures. Yeah,
that's
yeah.
like I think it's kind of cool, or they're like, I enjoy painting, but I don't really like playing. But this is a game where you can definitely get them into it and you won't overwhelm them too much. They'll be like, "Oh, okay, I get this to that to this to that," and then maybe actually get them to play a little bit more.
Mhm.
Um, that
This
I
is
know I know that I've done this before. I think I know I've done this before. I think at least with my sister once and with some other people where it's like, "Oh, okay, I kind of get it." I mean, she gave it a try, and
Mhm.
this isn't her thing, but she was able to actually kind of get into it and play it and not get super frustrated with like, no, you're going over too many rules, and I forgot like what does this number mean?
Mhm. Yeah, there's not a whole lot to remember in that manner. I'll say too, this is a game probably if you have so let me preface this. The rule set is really if you have younger kids that you're going to bring into gaming, the rule set is very approachable and very easy for them to pick up on.
Yeah.
The figures being fragile resin in some cases, you will have to teach them how to lift figures and move around, or you'll be using figures. And that's the other thing too is if, as long as the base size is the correct size, you could put a picture of whatever the figure is on the base if you're playing with your kids, and introduce them that way. And then so that way you protect the very nice figures, and their paint jobs and their ankles.
Yeah, ankles, that's the
And
big one.
still be able to do or use cardboard cutouts. Again, it's as long as the base size matches what the base size of the figure is supposed to be, then you're fine. But I will say this is something that I could see if you have kids who are playing if you have 8 to 10-year-old kids that are playing,
Pokemon,
maybe a little more than that, if they're playing in the card games and things like that, Pokemon, I don't
Magic,
know
or whatever
whether,
things.
Magic is probably a little more, if they like that or they're curious about that, this is a game that they could definitely again, picking up the rules is very easy for this. Again, as Jason was saying, not a lot of numbers to keep track of. The base dice concept is easy. Did you score a 4, 5, or 6? Yes. Okay, you got a success. Did you roll a 1, 2, 3? Yes, these came up 1, 2, 3. So let's push those off the side. Now I got these, so who wins? Well, who has more successes? I do. Okay, well then I win. Or you do. You win. So again, very easy to pick up, and then they could build on that. And you'll be surprised. Once they start playing a little bit and learn the basic mechanics of it, then you put the traits in, and then you can start doing some other things with it. And they'll soon remember things that you had no clue about because you've forgotten, because whatever. Um, the last thing that I probably enjoy about this game is the community. I think this is probably one of the coolest convention games there, and I'll give props to the Red Republic guys. Um, when they go to Adepticon, they're running 3 nights worth of events: Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I came in one year and ran a Friday night event, and they're well attended. The group that plays there, they know what the game is. This is not what I would call a lifestyle game. Lifestyle game is like a 40K or a Bushido or a War Machine or what a Guild Ball is, where you're investing a lot of time in memorizing all these different things and learning all these different combinations and buying all these different things. You're still going to buy a lot of stuff in Arena Rex, but the rules are very simple. And so when you get to play, it's not a lifestyle. This is a game. This is one of your secondary or tertiary games where I've been playing Bushido till my brain hurts, or I've been prepping for the Grandmasters, and I finally got through it. You know what? I want to take a break, just a week or two break from whatever my primary lifestyle game is. I'm going to play Arena Rex. And then I play it, and I'm like, you play it that first time because you haven't touched it in a year. And you're like, oh my God, I forgot how much fun this game is. And then you get into it and you play it like crazy for a couple weeks, and then you could go back into something else, or you go to a convention. You get to see all the people that you've played Arena Rex with before are there at the convention, and you get to play against them, and it's a chill time. Everybody's having a drink, you're doing whatever, and it's just it's a I think that's what I hadn't known that when I got into the game, but now as I've played the game more and I've done it for a few years and I ran an event or two, that's what really kind of makes this game a lot of fun. And
Mhm.
not that any other crowd, not like the Bushido crowd, isn't a really cool and chill crowd, but just the vibe that you get off Arena Rex, because again, it's not as hardcore. It's not a lifestyle game.
Yeah.
Makes it
That's
That's what makes it more
that's
enjoyable
the
for me.
easiest way to kind of describe it.
Yeah. So those are the things we kind of like about it. Again, the models are all great and all the rest of that stuff. I tend to not talk about the models too much because I suck as a painter. But there are people
Same.
who love the models. The Medusa model, everybody. If you're looking for a challenge, that Medusa model is probably a challenge next to Uriel. Those are the two Gorgon sisters.
Mhm.
Uriel's the half snake woman, and Medusa's the one that's got the gauzy over
She's
her
got a
chest
veil and
and a
everything.
veil on that. Just both of them are amazing figures. So now, if we had to say something, Jace, what would be the thing that you dislike about Arena Rex?
So for
If there
me,
is anything.
disliking Arena Rex, the game itself is deep, but unless if you and the part of the reason why we have so many ideas like with the league and everything else is maybe we've seen it like on Discord or Greg on Discord or me through Facebook or whatever like
Mhm.
that. you can burn out on the game rather
Yeah,
quickly, which is why Greg referred to this as a lifestyle game,
it's
because
not a lifestyle game.
we are not a lifestyle game, is we've definitely hit that burnout point, and where
Oh
it's
yeah,
like, and it sucks where it's like, oh well, you want to play it, but it's like you can only do kind of the same thing, and eventually your imagination does run out of ideas, or more realistically, our modeling and our abilities to make stuff,
yeah,
um, where it's kind of difficult, or then where again you can go into the homebrew stuff, or you can try to think of your own thing, like we think of our own campaign or league. You can do that, but it definitely, you can burn out on the game, rather not quickly, but burnout will happen with it.
yeah.
Depends on you, depends on your group. But even the most person who's like, I don't burn out on anything, eventually you will burn out on this,
And
and then
and
you'll need to put it away for 6 months or a little bit of time, and then rediscover it again.
yeah, I think the main reason, and I agree definitely with Jason on this one. I think the thing about it is because the game really does have a one objective to it, which is wiping out your opponent. Yeah, you could pretty it up by having different ways in which to defeat your opponent. There's different terrain and things, but it really is not an objective game. You could put objectives in it, but again, my primary goal is still to kill my opponent completely. So that eventually just burn out on it. Which is fine, because again, you're gonna put it away for a while, then you're gonna come back to it, and you're gonna enjoy it. You're gonna enjoy the hell out of it. And then you're gonna get play it till you're tired of it, or you're gonna sit there and you're gonna play it at a tournament. Again, I wish I could say, you know, so I definitely agree with Jason on that. The other part of it, and this is one that I don't I is not a dislike for me, but I definitely hear this from the community is that they don't have, as compared to some other companies, their release schedule is not. It's if they put out 2 models a year, that's surprising.
Yeah,
Now, granted, COVID has kind of threw a monkey wrench into everybody's plans, so on and so forth. One of the things I hear from people is they would like to see more stuff. That, are they still in business? I haven't seen anything new. No, either they're waiting to get their stuff back or whatever. There's lots of different things to it. To be perfectly
or play
frank,
testing.
or playtesting. To be perfectly honest, I don't mind a very slow release schedule.
The same. I'm okay with that, to be quite honest. If there's like, if they come out with 2 figures a year, especially for a game like this, and that's cool, or like a wave where they
Mhm.
have like, oh, here's like 4 new models, or each
But
new
they come up
faction,
with a new
or
faction
each Ludus gets a new faction or a new model, or
a year. Yeah,
here's the once yearly, here's a new faction altogether. If they did that
yeah,
like once a year where we get 3 to 5 models, and you
yeah.
kind of split it up that way, or however the hell that they want to split it up, I would be cool with that. And then
Mhm.
that, to me, it gives us time to kind of enjoy, savor, paint. That's the big one.
Yeah.
Paint the model,
Paint
and
the model.
then
I could pull out my Arena Rex models that I have that I don't have painted, but yeah,
paint the
it's,
model, and then play it, enjoy it, kind of get a full understanding of the model. And then at that point, I probably have hit to burnout at that point, or who knows, the big events maybe come,
well,
whatever
again,
tournament
you
that
get
you
to
want to
play it a
do,
whole yeah.
and then wait, put it away for a couple months, and then like at that point in time there might be the next release for the following year. It's like, oh damn, well let's see what came out this year
Yeah,
and go with
yeah.
it
You
from there.
go to the next Adepticon and see what else they got new, or the next Gen Con, see what they got new. I think also by having a slower release schedule, they avoid one thing that a lot of games are susceptible to, which is rules bloat.
Yes,
Um, you know, I the Zafiri model that I had up there on the far right, that's I can't remember, Galger or whatever his name is.
I was just gonna call him Galahorn.
He's
But
not Galahorn, but he's Galger,
yeah,
or Allerger. Anyway, he's just a basic taunter. He doesn't have a whole lot of flash to him, but he definitely fills a role for the Zafiri model. Plus, he looks really cool, so I could play him. I bought him. Have I painted him? No, but I do have him. Uh, so I'm not one that sees the slow release as a bad thing, but there are definitely those that are put off by it. They would like to have more toys. And so that's probably the biggest complaint I hear about it. But otherwise, I'm totally in agreement with Jason. I really, You would like to have some more meat to it. Or I should say meat to it. It's just the fact that it's the one the one goal is to defeat your enemy all the time, to kill him to a man. There's not a whole lot of you can only vary that so much. Being creative with living hazards, being creative with hazards, being creative with X, Y, and Z. But in the end, that's still my goal is wipe my player out. Now, if you don't get tired of that, then this is a perfect game for you.
Yes.
But eventually you're going to want to do something else just to have it more varied and more interesting. Um, that being said, so that's our dislike. Both of us are in agreement with the dislike, and then what I've heard of the biggest dislike of
The release
the one
schedule.
that I hear the most is the release schedule. I even can't say it's a dislike; it's just a complaint.
Yep, for
Um,
real. So what do you wanna see then, Greg, in the future for the game? If there's anything on your
hmm,
wish list, if you could go talk to Walker and be like, "Yo, Walker, this is what I wanna see."
I would love so two things, and then I'll be real brief with them. One, I would love to see, and I think this would inject a lot more fun into the game. I would like to see a bit of a uniform but simple campaign rule to it. Even if it was, I don't want to have I don't want to have where I have a generic gladiator A, or I'm building generic gladiators with really just kind of a blank baseline, 3 6 move, 3 this, 4 that, blah blah blah. And then as they go and through and survive, then I get more stuff. I would rather have something, where I'm building on I have the guys that are there and I can draft them, and then we have certain things that I could get from my arena. Just something that way I could put some more meat into it and have more of a connected play, a more narrative play to it, I guess is what I would say. I would love to see that. Um, and to be honest, if I'm looking at a faction, I would love to see like a Zulu faction, maybe. Or yeah, I would like to see what they would have that would be kind of a cool new faction.
Which one's
Um,
Zulu for
South African,
Oh, okay.
like Shaka Zulu and
Oh,
things like
okay,
that.
that
The
okay.
those kind of they're big spear carrying
Yeah.
guys and with the big long shields.
Mhm,
Um, that would be kind of cool. Um, Amazon type of faction or Ludus.
mhm.
I would like to see it. I would like the Helniki were really cool. And again, if it takes a couple years before it comes out, I'd like to see something. I'd like to see something like that. I, having said that, I would like to see a new faction. A number one on my list, a Minotaur model.
Yeah,
Seriously,
that'd be pretty cool. I think
that
that they honestly, they do some of the really cool sculpts, like, I know some people don't really like the bear, but, like, Caceres, I mean,
Crassus,
I
yeah.
I I I mean, when I look at the model, I mean, maybe it's just how they painted it, but to me, that's what a terrifying bear looks like. Like, I've already made my comments about other bears in the game where I'm like,
Hmm.
I just feel like I wanna give it a hug, but no, like, Caceres, that's like I am afraid of that model. Like,
I
it demands my respect and fear.
I think it was just how it was painted up because there's other people that say once they put paint on it, it changes their perspective of that model all
Oh,
completely. If I had to go with the dislike of the game, it's Aatrox. I really wanted to have a kick-ass looking tiger, and I got Aatrox.
rawr.
I'm gonna maul you. If when you see the model of Aatrox, it just looks like they got the tiger really really drunk and he's just really lethargic coming out to kill you, which is weird because that's totally not how he plays. But it's just the look on him, or maybe it's just the way the guy painted it. It
I
just
could see
it
that.
just has such a weird vibe to it. But yeah, that would be the stuff that I'm looking forward to see in the future. How about you? What are you hoping to see?
So I'm a little bit in the same for the campaign rules, but if there's not really a campaign set or like the league set, which I know that's just been a more me and you thing,
Mhm.
I would be okay with some form of a structure of like a tournament pack, or not like a tournament pack, but like a scenario pack.
Well, you get the
Just to
scenario. I'll be honest, you get the
just
scenario packs after every convention, though.
I know that's usually what I mean, and that's kind of the way that I kind of build for it. But I mean, just if they aggregated those together and said, "Here, $5," or just here PDF download, and here's like 10 different scenarios you can play. Just so I mean, it helps with. I think it would help with some of the people that help prevent some of the burnout.
Mhm.
Just to kind of see where it works with. I mean, again, overall, it's still going to relatively be the same, and there are some incentives I know for like the Adepticon tournaments that they push, so that way kind of monkey something around.
Hmm.
But I mean, it's just something that would be nice. Um, Otherwise, I can agree a little bit with the models. Again, I know everything kind of works out with that or how their schedule is, but if they have like a release once a year where they're
Well,
like, oh, here's like a
okay.
model or two,
So let me
that'd be
say,
cool.
if you had a dream faction that's not already out there, what dream faction would you want?
Something like from Prince of Persia, that'd be pretty cool.
Oh,
Or the
Persian one. That would be
Persia,
kind
or
of
like the
neat.
Persian. I know that
Yeah,
or
yeah,
the
yeah.
Persians from like 300 or something like that, or like a mix between them and then like from the video game Prince of Persia. I think that'd be kind of cool.
That'd be kind of cool. Yeah, yeah, that would be cool. Um, so yeah, that's kind of where we're at. Now, if you had a beast, what beast would you want? Are you going to take my Minotaur?
Oh, dude, if I'm gonna have a beast, hang on, I have to think about that. If I had a beast, I'm trying to think what other cool beasts did they use or that we can make
Could have a
here.
dragon. That would be actually, now that I think about it,
A
that'd be
dragon
kind of
would be kind of cool, but I think
that'd be huge.
dragon's kind of pushing it a little bit for like a big living hazard.
Yeah, that's
Um,
not something you have to
I'm trying to
talk.
think of. Oh, there's a. I'm trying to think of the dude from.
I think Greek mythology or
Yeah,
whatnot,
I
or
know. Actually, I mean, if they, I mean, it would just be like a
Cyclops.
one-off. Oh,
Oh,
Cyclops would be kind of cool. Actually, I mean, like if they like came out with like, and but this would be more for like solo player if they made it into like a hazard. Like they got like one of the gods that came in. I know that we did our own version of
oh.
it one tournament with like the god cards, which was kind of a weird experiment. But just like,
Yeah.
I mean, I think that that would be kind of cool. Either that or letting maybe like letting one of the models like ride like the rhino or something like that. That'd be kind of cool.
Just put it. Oh yeah, put a rhino
Put
for
him
put a
put him
rhino
out.
for a rider. No, put a rider for the rhino or for
Yeah,
the
put him out.
other beasts that don't have riders on it.
Yeah, that I think that would be kind of cool if you could if they had like alternate versions of like, oh, Septimus rides Leo the lion, which would be just disgusting as hell. I get out,
Okay,
but
that Leo is probably not the best thing to be ridden. Uh,
I'm just saying. Or
I
again,
know,
you could
I
put
know.
someone on the rhinoceros or whatever like that. I mean
Okay,
that I'd have to really think about it a little bit more, but the Cyclops would be kind of cool. Dragon also be kind of super cool, but I feel like if you're trying to do like a dragon, the like ones from like medieval times or whatever like that, those ones would be kind of tough to do. And they already did something like the Wendigo.
yeah,
So
The Wendigo is kind of interesting. Um,
otherwise, yeah, I can't really think of like another like big like
ooh,
creature model to bring in.
that'd be kind of cool too if they did kind of like an Aztec Mesoamerican kind of theme.
Oh, that would be pretty cool. Then at that point, then you get some cool stuff like you get some jaguars or something like
Well,
that,
you get
or you get the
the feather
chupacabra.
the chupacabra. There you go. I want to see a chupacabra. I don't know what it looks like, but I want a chupacabra.
It's
I was gonna
actually a
say like
really
the feathered
disgusting little
snakes
thing.
too.
Oh, those would be pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there we go. There's our wish list for things that we would like to see
A
in the next 5
chupacabra.
to 10 years. Chupacabra 2024. Uh, so that's been our take on Arena Rex. So this just kind of give you a flavor of what Arena Rex is like. We hope we piqued your interest in it. I will say for our people outside the United States, it may be a bit difficult for you to get
Yeah, just
said
a
models and
tad
stuff.
bit from what
Your
we've
best bet
heard.
is probably getting it direct from Arena Rex or talk to your local friendly
Game.
game store to contact Red Republic to see if they can get something there. I don't think they have a distributor outside. I don't think they have a distributor in Europe, and I'm positive they don't have a distributor in Australia.
No, they don't. I think
Um,
even in the United States, I think they do most of the distributing in house or
Directly, yeah,
they
yeah,
yeah. So that would be if you're really into it. Yeah, getting it from the website directly, or if your friendly local game store
can
feels like
carry
that they
some
can
stuff.
feels like that they might be able to get the niche in there. I know that the guys over at Red Republic are super open to talking to people,
Mhm.
and seeing whatever is there.
Yeah, that'll work. So, you know, hopefully you're able to get it and then you could enjoy it as much as we do. But that's pretty much our talk. You're probably going to see in the next few weeks us doing a couple battle reports mixed in with our normal Bushido stuff, and we're probably going to do some Ludus, aka faction breakdowns, so that way you can become more familiar with what each faction does and what's available in each faction for you to take as to build your Ludus up. So if you enjoyed this, give us some comments. If you play Arena Rex, tell us what you think about it. Tell us what you'd like to see in the future, what you like or dislike. We'd love to hear those kind of things, and I'm sure the guys from Red Republic, if they're even aware of us, uh, would
Yeah,
like to
that's
see that stuff too. Was that Chase?
oh, yeah, no, I mean, we're little nobodies on the internet, but you never know.
You never
We
know.
we've at least
Well,
talked with them, so they
we've
know we
talked with
kind
them.
of exist, but they know that we exist is like, "Oh, we just kinda are some guys that are really into your game
That's what we
in
pretty much are.
Chicago."
Yeah, that's what we are. So again, leave us those comments about this. We hope you enjoyed this chat about Arena Rex. If you did like it, if you did enjoy it, you did comment, throw us a thumbs up. We always appreciate those likes. Lets us know that we're on the right track and putting stuff out that you like. And as always, subscribe. You
Subscribe.
know,
We're trying to get to 500 subscribers now. We had our content meeting,
we
air
we had
quotes.
yeah we had our behind the scenes meeting, and we're working towards something, but we have to get to 500, and we're going to keep it a secret till we get closer to that. Is it something major?
No.
But will it be neat? Possibly.
I think it'll be
Uh,
pretty neat.
but we'll get to once we get to 500, then we'll be able to talk more about it. So that's kind of our goal right now. Now, is there a timetable for when that happens? No, but we'll get there.
We'll try
Maybe.
it. I mean, either that or like our last episode, I mean, like, it's spiting the young people. Feel free
Yes.
to subscribe to spite the young people, so
There you go.
that way I can rub it in my sister's face, and she'll be like, it'll just blow her mind,
That'd be awesome.
pretty much.
So anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to us talk about one of our other games that we enjoy besides Bushido. And hopefully, if you want more information about it, Jace, why don't you throw up really quick the references for that if you wanted to get more information or where
Okay.
you can buy your Arena Rex stuff.
Yep, give me 1 second, and for
We'll
our
include that in the comments
well,
too.
and for our listening audience on Anchor or whatever your podcast choice of platform is, we'll try to make sure that we keep that in the description for you guys as well, so that way,
Yeah.
you can access these as well.
So the two references we have there is first the main Arena Rex website, which is there it is, https arenarex.com. Aside from being able to buy all the stuff there, the rules are free online, both in English and Spanish. So you are able to download those rules for free off the Arena Rex website. Plus, you could buy dice, figures, terrain, all that stuff is right there on the Arena Rex site. Now, if you're looking for more information or just kind of want to look at the cards, some of the figures, get some more background and whatnot, the unofficial Arena Rex wiki is http arenarex.wikidot.com. And that's a great resource just to have it all easily to get. Not that you can't see the cards on the Red Republic site, but you have to kind of, and I spelt Red Republic wrong. Nice, Greg. Nice.
Ooh, dang, and
Yeah.
you're the one that gives me a hard time about my spelling.
I know, right? I was in a rush and I wasn't paying attention. Um,
And all I did was copy and paste into
yeah,
into
way to edit
PowerPoint.
me there. Awesome. Um,
You spell things right. You correct me
you're
all the
supposed to
time.
check, so you should correct me. Anyway, um, it's just the wiki I find is a great place to have everything kind of gathered. Where the Red Republic site does, the Arena Rex website has all the cards there, but you kind of got to hunt for. I can't say hunt for them. They're in amongst each figure's pictures, and then when you click on it, you kind of got to go back up to the main picture, where it's a
Yeah.
lot easier to view the stuff on the wiki. So, highly recommend both. With that being said, thanks again for listening and watching. We hope that you'll be back with us again when we come out with our next podcast or battle report. And Jace, how do you
Have a
want to take us out?
have a great day or evening wherever you may be. Y'all deserve that break for UK Grandmaster, so no painting this week. It's all good.
Take the week off. Have a great week, everybody. Bye bye.
So,
Got Father's Day coming. It's my present from my son. He wanted to get it for his papa.
along with Battle Strikers.
And I think that master grade that Zelsby, that Gundam is about the size of.
Oh yeah, it is. It is
Of gaming Jason Jr.
that was the size. It's about the size, and that was trying to be one of my selling points to then the conversation was like, really? I was like, 'cause it's all good. It'll be his best friend.